Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. For the honor of the Imam of our time and hastening his return, recite the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. This level of energy for this audience is lower than I expected. Inshallah, I think this is maybe a result of a lot of celebration during the Eid Al-Adha and a lot of sacrifices that you made, inshallah, for the honor of Imam Ali alayhi salam as we are approaching Eid al-Ghadir and the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. Let's recite another salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه وحبيبه حافظ سره ومبلغ رسالاته حبيب إله العالمين وخاتم النبيين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد صلى على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين سيما بقية الله في السماوات والأراضين. قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم: واتل عليهم نبأ ابني آدم بالحق إذ قربا قربانا فتقبل من أحدهما ولم يتقبل من الآخر قال لأقتلنك قال إنما يتقبل الله من المتقين صدق الله العلي العظيم. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala illuminate our hearts and our souls with the light of Iman, with the guidance and the love of the Prophet and his family, with the recitation of the salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Salla ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I remember I had a conversation with somebody who was eager and very enthusiastically looking for someone to get married. They were looking for their future spouse. And what I admire about him that he was very blunt and straightforward and honest in what he said. But the more I talked to him, one thing became very clear to me. And that is that there is going to be a very long journey and a difficult path ahead, because the expectations of this person was based on someone who will make a lot of sacrifices, compromise a lot, but on the other hand, this person will not make any sacrifice and will not make any compromise. And he had his own justification that I'm honest about it. I'm saying that I expect this from my future spouse, but I don't expect to do any of those myself. Eid al-Adha, it's a celebration of 1,000 years of heritage and legacy. The father of the prophets, Abu al-Anbiya, he is the father of Musa alayhi salam, the father of Yaqub, Yusuf alayhi salam, the father of our prophet, the one that all these great messengers of God are coming from his descendant, is Ibrahim alayhi salam. And Eid al-Adha is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala celebrating a successful trial and test to be completed by him. وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنْ. When Allah said we tested him through many different trials, and he not only passed them, he completed them with the highest score that you can imagine. Then Allah said, now, قَالَ إِنِّي جَعَلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا. We're giving you this status of being the Imam. So he's one of those prophets who has both nubuwwah, because he was a prophet during the time of test. Now that he passed the test, Allah said, we made you the imam. Who's an imam and a leader not only for his own people, but also is going to be the one who lead generations of humanity to come. As you know, the salawat that we recite on daily basis, it has a complete version, right? We usually say the shorter version. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. But when we look at Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, recite the salawat, Allah salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I saw your level of energy. I didn't even want to go with another invocation of salawat, but you asked for it, alhamdulillah. So the actual one that they asked the Prophet, how we send peace and blessing upon you, and in traditions been mentioned, is this part with the continuation. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. One version is Kama sallayta ala Ibrahim wa ali Ibrahim. Innaka Hamidun Majid. There's a longer version. وَبَارِكْ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَآلِ مُحَمَّدٍ وَارْحَمْ مُحَمَّدًا وَآلِ مُحَمَّدٍ, which are additional praises, additional blessing. But that completion is, Ya Allah, send peace and blessing upon the Prophet Muhammad and his family, same way that you send blessing, as you did blessing upon Ibrahim and the family of Ibrahim. Indeed, innaka Hamidun Majid. Indeed, you are praiseworthy and you are the magnificent, all magnificent. So even in the salawat upon the Prophet, we remember Ibrahim alayhi salam. When you look at ziyarat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, ziyarat warith, right? Assalamu alayka ya waritha Ibrahim Khalilullah. Is again, we see a reference to Ibrahim alayhi salam, right? When we look at even our Hajj, every step of the way, the pilgrimage of every Muslim is following the footstep of Ibrahim alayhi salam. What made that sacrifice of Ibrahim so unique? Going back to my story, this day of celebration of Ibrahim alayhi salam has a very important message, and that is anything valuable will not be achieved without sacrifice. We need to make a sacrifice to get to something valuable. Things that they are free, usually you don't have to make a lot of sacrifice for. So, meaning, if somebody wants a successful career, you want to be the best in your work, you want to be at the top of your work, get promotion after promotion. Tell me, is sacrifice necessary or not? Yes or no? Yes. Forget about exceptions that they were born into wealth and they inherited a lot of money. Many of people who are the best of, at the top of their work, they make a lot of sacrifice. They spend a lot of time at their work. They sacrifice their spending time with family, socializing with others, even taking care of them physically in order to get to that success. Same is when we look at people who are successful in science. Many of these famous scientists, they made a sacrifice. Some of them even sacrificed their well-being in order to get to that success in their field. So we know about the names like Einstein and Edison and all these people. Read their biographies. These are not people who did not make any sacrifice. They did. It cost them a lot as well. And majority of them, these revolutionary theories that they came up with, for example, Einstein theory of relativity. He did not come up with that at a young age. He spent years of his life until he came up with that. Now the world knows him by that. So there is no surprise that when it comes to our faith, is the same concept, that in order to get close to Allah. And by the way, the word closeness, we're not talking about physical distance or physical proximity, right? We say it in our salat, at least we heard. Qurbatan ilallah. I pray, I fast, I do all these things to get closer or to find close proximity to Allah. What is that closeness? If it's not physical, because Allah is everywhere, so no matter where I am, how I am, Allah is with me. What is this closeness? The closeness is simply as, if I want to make a very tangible analogy, is that when you say, oh, I feel I'm close to this person, you're not talking about physical closeness. What do you mean when you say I'm close to this person? This is my close friend. What do you mean by that? It means that, number one, I trust them. They're close to me, that I can trust them. I can count on them. I feel comfortable with them. I can rely on them. That's closeness to someone. It's not physical proximity. You could sit next to someone and feel that they're nothing to do with you. They're the most distant person possible. We can have couples who are married, and unfortunately, they're not close. They're married, they live in the same house, they sleep in the same room, but they could be very, very far away from each other. So when you say qurbatan ilallah, that's what ultimately means. To get closer to Allah means that I trust Him. The closer I get, the more trust I have in Him. The closer we get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more we rely on Him. Tawakkul. Closer we get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more confident we have in Him. That's closeness to Allah. We know that He's with us. We know that He's everywhere. We know that He has our back. But to actually get it. And a clear example is a businessman. I talk to people who have businesses, right? And both of them, they say, we believe in God. Both of them probably pray. But one in their business, they say, you know, Sheikh, yes, I do my prayer. I do go to the masjid. I do all these things. But I will not be able to take care of my family if I do everything by the book, if I do everything right. Right? I need to do something. I know it's not right, but that's the only way I can provide for my family. I was shocked and surprised, but it's not, and eventually I get it that, okay, this is what they see. This is for them, this is how they see Allah. Yes, Allah is there, I pray to Him, but I'm here on my own sometimes. I have to do my own thing. Yes, there is halal rizq, there is halal income, but I cannot really count on that because it's up to me to provide for my family. That is someone that their closeness to Allah is very different. On the other hand, Allah in the Quran says, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. This is the promise of Allah in the Quran, right? So if you're close to Allah, it means that I trust Him, right? That's what I just mentioned. When you say I'm close to someone, it means I trust them. So if I trust Allah, Allah said this, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ, the one who is pious, the one who is virtuous, God-conscious, God-fearing. Such a person, even if they sometimes feel the pressure, sometimes they feel that they're cornered, يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. Allah promised, this is the promise of God. Remember that if you're close to someone, you rely on them, you believe them, you have confidence in their promise. Allah is making a promise. Allah says, if you're virtuous, meaning that you don't cheat the system. You don't lie, you don't deceive, you don't con anyone. You do everything with the utmost honesty and fairness that possible. Even if it's your interest in it, even if you can't get away with it, you do the right thing. That's the promise of Allah. That's taqwa, by the way. That is what piety is. Even if you will not be caught, still you do the right thing. That's taqwa. Allah said, for that person, I will make an exit for you. Makhraj, in Arabic, there is madkhal, which is entrance, and makhraj is khuruj, is exit. Meaning that you will not be stuck. you will be able to eventually find your way out. It doesn't mean you will not be cornered, you will not feel pressure. You will, but you will not crack under pressure. Right? That's what, when you see a glass cracks or when anything that is in a vacuum, right? What happens as you add the pressure, what happens is the pressure start going outward and eventually it cracks this, whatever is that, the seal or that container, whatever it is. Allah said, if you're with me, you will be under trouble. I'm not saying because you're the honest one, suddenly you sleep in the morning, there is a magical deposit in your bank. No, you will not have easy time. It will be tough. But I will make an exit for you. You will not be stuck. You will not crack. يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. When you look at the life of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, one example of very hard pressure is Karbala. Muharram is around the corner. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, we know about this event that was promised to, it was kind of, the prophecy was made by the Prophet of God that Imam al-Hussein will face this challenge, this tragedy. But one thing that is very clear, we don't see Hazrat Zainab, Imam Zain al-Abidin, and the people who survived, the survivors of this tragedy, none of them crack. They experienced the most unimaginable sorrow, grief, and pain. But we don't see Hazrat Zainab lose her faith or cave in to the enemy or lost her bravery or courage. She was under pressure. But because this whole movement was with taqwa, it wasn't for attention, it wasn't for power, it wasn't for praise of people, it was because of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, ultimately, you see from this pressure, we'll have an exit. And that exit was the demise and the fall of Bani Umayyad. An entire dynasty fell and collapsed. So somebody understand this, يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. And then Allah even elaborate a bit more. وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. I'll provide for you. I give you from a place that you don't even expect. Another one, I'll cover for you. I'll have your back. I will not abandon you. This is the promise of Allah. The one who's close to Allah, get it. The one who is far away from Allah, they don't have that trust. They said, I get it. These are good things. I like them. But at the end of the day, I need to make money. I need to make money. And I've talked to people who went both ways, by the way. I've talked to people who, they are honest and they say, yes, in my business, I do cheat if I can. I will con people if I can. And they have their own excuses. By the way, I did not change from being a sheikh to a father. I don't accept confessions. These are the moments that sometimes come up when people talk about their issues and their doubts. And they're honest about their doubts, so I can actually talk to them. And I've seen both types. The concept of sacrifice, the word qurban. Qurban comes from the word qurb. Qurb means closeness. Qurban means offering. Sacrifice is a form of offering. Something that you sacrifice, you offer in order to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is a tradition all the way to our first ancestors, Adam and Hawa, all the way in their time. Allah in the Quran, the ayat that I recited is from Surah Ma'idah, Allah says, verse 27. Allah says, let's talk about Adam and his sons. وَاتْلُ عَلَيْهِمْ نَبَأَ ابْنَيْ Adam. O Prophet, let's relate to them, let's tell them the story, the account of the sons of Adam. We know them as Habil and Qabil. Among the Christian Jews, they're known as Abel and Cain. So Allah said, let's give him the story of Habil and Qabil. إِذْ قَرَّبَا قُرْبَانًا. When both of them, they made a sacrifice or they offered an offering before God. The command of Allah came that each of these sons, they have to make a donation or a giving or a sacrifice. When Allah gave him the command, we have, this is not in the Quran, and the narration says that Habil, he was a shepherd, he had animals. He chose the best animal in his herd. The one that was basically the healthiest, the heaviest, and all that. And he made that to be the sacrifice. Qabil, on the other hand, was a farmer. So you look at his crop, he separated everything that was good, the top of his crop, and whatever was the leftover, whatever was the useless part. It's like when we go through our closet and we say, okay, I don't fit in this one anymore, I don't like this one anymore, right? Said, okay, I'm going to give these to be my sacrifice, the leftover, the extra, the useless one. So Allah says, فَتُقُبِّلَ مِنْ أَحَدِهِمَا, we accepted from one, وَلَمْ يُتَقَبَّلْ مِنَ الْآخَرِ, but obviously the other one was not accepted. One accepted, one rejected. Habil accepted, Qabil rejected. And that what is the Qurbani is about. On the day of Eid al-Adha, is highly recommended to make a sacrifice. But that is what I want probably kind of make this to be the topic. The acceptance of our deeds. One act sacrifice be accepted, another one won't be accepted. Same as with our prayer, with our pilgrimage, Hajj, ziyarat, charity, any good deed that we do. We want it to be accepted, maqbool. That's why when somebody comes from Hajj, usually we see these two statements, right? Hajjukum maqbool wa sa'yukum mashkur. And we hope that yes, you did your Hajj, you did your pilgrimage, but I hope it's accepted. Because it's very likely for me or someone like me to go to Hajj, go through all the hurdles, all the steps of the Hajj, and I come empty-handed. It is possible. And same as with the Qurban. Same as with the sacrifice. You kill 20 sheep if you want to, but the money wasn't mine to begin with. I lied to people. I cheat my way around to get to that money. Would they be accepted? Tell me. Obviously not. If I pray the longest prayer of my life with all the mustahabbat, I recite Surah Yasin in my salat instead of Surah Qul Huwallahu Ahad, Surah Tawheed. But the place that I'm praying is not mine. I don't have permission to pray in that place. Tell me, is that prayer maqbool, accepted or not? When I know that is not mine, I don't have the permission to pray there. That is the tragedy. And the issue is that when that story happened between Habil and Qabil, rather than accepting the mistake, what Qabil did, he didn't say, yeah, I was wrong. I should have made a better choice. I should have given what I actually liked. I should have given what I like to be given, not the leftover. Nobody likes the leftover. Why somebody else should like my leftover? Put myself in the shoes of the one that I tried to help. Rather than accepting, owning the mistake, we do what majority of human beings do. What is that? Shifting the blame. It's not my fault, it's your fault. It's not that my sacrifice was bad, it's your fault that you are too greedy. Your expectation is too high. You're judgmental. It's not my fault, it's your fault. Right? So that's what Qabil did. He said, قَالَ لَأَقْتُلَنَّكَ. He said to his brother, I'll kill you. God rejected my offering and God accepted yours. It's your fault. You would say, okay, what it has to do with them? You'll be amazed how many, smart students who are being hated in the classroom because all the other students in the class, they blame the smart kid. Why? It's your fault. If you don't study as hard, the teacher's expectation will be lower. It's your fault. Rather than say, okay, I didn't study for this, I don't know about this, shifting the blame. قَالَ لَأَقْتُلَنَّكَ. I'll kill you. It's your fault. And Habil responded. So قَالَ إِنَّمَا يَتَقَبَّلُ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْمُتَّقِينَ. Allah accept from those who are pious. It's not my fault that your offering wasn't accepted. You should think about taqwa. Did you have taqwa? Were you pious? And then even he went further than that. Said, لَإِن بَسَطْتَ يَدَكَ لِتَقْتُلَنِي. My brother Qabil, if you extend your hand, if you come at me to kill me, if you raise your hand to kill me, مَا أَنَا بِبَاسِطٍ يَدِي لَأَقْتُلَ. I will not do the same to you. You're my brother. They call it preemptive attack in the modern society. Before they attack, I attack. And Qabil and Habil, he said, I will not do that. Yes, you say you kill me, but I will never extend my hand to kill you. I'll defend myself if I have to, but I will not come at you. Taqwa is the key. And I want to tonight talk about one of those ways that how an offering, a sacrifice, or any good deed will be accepted. And that is Ikhlas, sincerity. When we do something not for the sake of attention, not for the sake of praise, not for the sake of respect, we do it for the sake of the one who asked us to do it. That is called sincerity. And in our faith, the shiniest part of every good deeds is sincerity. A lot of people do good deeds, but the one who has sincerity is very scarce, is almost very difficult to find. Why? Because when we do good deeds, we want acknowledgement. Yes, I made this donation. Can you mention my name and also my dad's name? And also mention I'm from this town? I did this, okay. By the way, you know who? And the first thing we said in the morning, right? If you help around the house for the first time. Do you know who washed the dishes last night? And we put the head up as well. We want the acknowledgement. That's the way it comes to our worship. Allahu Akbar, the loudest as possible. We never do that, right? Suddenly, my Allahu Akbar is different. The opposite of sincerity is called Ikhlas. Ikhlas, the opposite of Ikhlas and sincerity is Riya. What is Riya? The closest definition to it in English is showboating. Showboating or showing off. When somebody does something to, as I said, receive compliment, praise, attention, something in return of what they do. And that is what we see in the Ibrahim's story. There is no audience for Ibrahim. Yes, today we say what Ibrahim did, the great sacrifice and all, but Ibrahim has no audience. There is no Instagram live recording Ibrahim's story. You know, right now, unfortunately, there's so much happening. We call it marketing, advertisement, that it finds its way to our spiritual practice. To our spiritual practice. And that is the tragic part. That when we talk about Imam Ali alayhi salam, what we know about him is his sincerity. How to get to sincerity? Yes, is a great thing, is ideal, is perfect, but we're living in a real life. How can I be more sincere? How can I be more genuine? Real. That's what sincerity is about, to be real, not to pretend. Riya is to pretend, right? It's not really, I don't really want to do it. I do it because of the attention or because of approval, validation, gratification, whatever that may be. That's ikhlas, to not do it for validation, for attention, for gratification. That's being real, genuine. You do it, if it was an audience or not, you do it anyway. That is ikhlas. If I only pray when there's an audience, and when there's no audience, I don't pray, that is ultimate riya. That's showing off. There's no point in it. Imam Ali alayhi salam beautifully described the one who's a fake, the one who is a showboater or a show-off, right? The one who has riya. What he says? He said, for the one who has riya, there are three identifiers. There are three ways you can get to know and see this person or myself, especially about ourselves, by the way. These are more about self-diagnosis, not other people. The first one Imam alayhi salam said is that al-mura'i ثلاث علامات للمرائي. For the one who's showing off, the one who's fake, the one who's not sincere, there are three identifiers, three symptoms. ينشط إذا رأى الناس. When they see people, suddenly they have this surge of energy. They love attention and audience. If I'm home and alone, ويكسل إذا كان وحده. The second identifier, the symptom of riya, is that when they're alone, they are lazy. They have no motivation. So motivated when there's an audience. No motivation when I'm alone. وَيُحِبُّ أَن يُحْمَدَ فِي جَمِيعِ أُمُورِهِ. And the third one, Imam said, they love to be praised in everything that they do. They love compliment. I think the terminology is, some people, they fish compliments, right? They're fishing for compliments. You put something out there, I want something. Again, I remember two young people were talking, and it was a serious conversation. I said, what's going on? I said, yeah, I posted this photo of mine with my new car. This guy didn't like my car, didn't my photo. I'm asking you why you're so jealous. I said, maybe this poor guy didn't see your photo. We want that interaction. So how to be more sincere? How not to be fake? The first one, which is very important, is to be knowledgeable. The more knowledgeable you become, the less you care about people and their opinion. Imam Ali alayhi salam said, ثَمَرَةُ الْعِلْمِ الْإِخْلَاصِ فِي الْعَمَلِ. The result of knowledge is that you become more sincere. The more foolish we are, the more we care what people may think and their comments but as you age, again, if that aging is with knowledge, the more you understand, that's not a big deal. Ask people when they were a student in college what they would think about people and their opinion and what they think right now. It's not that because they are obsolete no, they're very successful right now. But the more knowledgeable you become, then become clear that to be pretend and to be fake is not going to fulfill anything. And also ask ourselves, who are we doing this for? If not for Allah, what am I doing this for? If it's because of people like you one day and next day they may hate you. Cancel culture, right? All they need is one comment, one whatever. That's it. يَوْمٌ لَكْ وَيَوْمٌ عَلَيْكَ. Imam Ali said, this is the way dunya is. One day is with you, one day is against you. This is the way it is. When you're with Allah, that's the constant in the equation of life. Allah. He's the only constant. Everything else changes. There's a variable. Goes up and down, good mood, bad mood, I like you, I hate you, I don't care. Knowledge gives you that understanding. Who you have to rely on, who you have to do actual work for. That's number one. Number two is to do our best to conceal and hide our good deeds. Try to do anonymous work. That's the way to get to Ikhlas, sincerity. If you want to be more sincere, push yourself, push ourselves to do things without recognition. Bismillah. Do something without anybody knowing. The ego is going to just be there and say, oh, look, you're a fool. You do this and nobody cares. You do this and they're going to even backbite about you. You do all this. How many times we heard this? You do all these good things and people are gossiping about you. And the one who did it for the right reason, they didn't do it for the sake of people. You're good and you do it because you're good. And it's because the right thing to do. You know, that's the sad part. When somebody sees, let's say a homeless, and you give him food, and there is a camera, everyone says, I wish I was there. I would have done the same thing. Because it's one of those moments that we get the attention, we get the sympathy, the compassion. But if that's not the case, it's not as, let's call it Instagram-worthy moment. It's not. But it's the right thing to do. Somebody gossip about you, but gossiping about them is wrong, so you don't do it. Nobody's going to say you did the right thing. No, you should have done the same thing. Why you defend them? Why you care? If they don't care about your reputation, why you care about their reputation? Well, you did the right thing. So because it's wrong. I'm not a gossiper. I don't do ghaibah. I don't care if you see it or not. I don't care if is this the right thing to do. So that will take us and help us with ikhlas. That's why Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, أعظم العبادة أجرا أخفاها. The greatest action that has the highest level of reward by Allah is the hidden one, is the secretive one. And that's what Imam Ali was known for, secretly distributing food. Imam Zain al-Abidin, the same. They didn't know Imam Zain al-Abidin was the one feeding people of Medina. Many were his enemies. They didn't even, believe that he was worthy of the respect. But he helped. Not because ultimately, no, he did it because he was good. It was not just some big plan. No. Ultimate reason you do it for the sake of Allah. Some people acknowledge, yes, I heard these stories, you heard it as well. Imam treated somebody with kindness, although they were very rude, very disrespectful, and they changed. That's one in many that they changed. Majority didn't care. No matter how much Imam Hussein was kind, compassionate, respectful, many didn't care. Only 33 people among thousands, they changed their side. It means majority don't care. But Imam's character is that. It's like a light that his job is to illuminate. He's doing it because that's his character. If somebody see that light, they come, that's great. I call it that's the secondary benefit. But the ultimate reason prophets were good, Imams were good, is because that's who they were. That was not a facade. That was not pretending. That's who they were. And if we get that how sincere they were in their actions, it becomes very clear that regardless of people's perception, you do the right thing. And that is ikhlas. Regardless of their acknowledgement, compliment, praise or not, you do it. So much to be said about this topic, and I'm not claiming I got there. Whenever I get to this topic, it's a reminder to me that I should less care about compliments. I appreciate it, but I should not let those compliments become conditions. I only do it if I get a compliment. No, I do it. This is who I am. Even if you don't see it, even if you don't recognize, do it. It's difficult, but it's doable. The more we do it, the more it becomes clear that sincerity is the shiniest act in the existence. Is the way that we polish our good deeds. Riyah and showing off, on the other hand, is how we can distort and how we can destroy that good deed to make it pointless. And I acknowledge that it's difficult. Imam Ali said, "Ashaddu al-a'mal tasweefu al-amal." The most difficult part is the kayfiyat, or the quality of the action. How sincere they are, how selfless they are. May Allah, by the honor of Ibrahim, by the honor of Ismail, by the honor of the prophets of God, by the honor of the final prophet and the messenger of God and his family, grant us the tawfiq and ability to increase our ikhlas and sincerity, to do work for the sake of Allah, the one who's only, He is the one that matters. كُلُّ مَنْ عَلَيْهَا فَانٍ. Everything else, Allah said, will fade away. وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبِّكَ ذُو الْجَلَالِ وَالْإِكْرَامِ. The one who's everlasting is Allah. So do something for the one that is everlasting, not the one who is just temporary. May Allah give us that insight, that understanding, and that knowledge, inshallah. For the honor of the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt, recite the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I know it's 10:30. Are we good? You're not yet